Margaret, but this is for those who contributed to the meal. You didn't, so you'll have to sit this one out." The words hung in the air like icicles, piercing Margaret's heart as the family, her own son included, averted their eyes, the festive cheer crumbling into an unbearable silence. Margaret had always been the pillar of her family, a woman forged in the fires of hardship. Widowed at 45 after her husband Tom's sudden heart attack, she had raised her son, David, alone while working 2 jobs, a seamstress by day and a waitress by night. She mended clothes with the same care she mended their broken lives, stitching together dreams from scraps. David grew up strong and kind, or so she thought, until he met Lisa in college. Lisa was vibrant, ambitious, a marketing executive with a penchant for perfection. Their wedding was a fairy tale, but Margaret sensed the cracks early on, Lisa's subtle jabs about Margaret's simple life, her insistence on modern holidays without the old-fashioned fuss. Still, Margaret swallowed her pride, baking pies and knitting scarves for every occasion, hoping love would bridge the gap. This Christmas was supposed to be special. Margaret had driven 3 hours through a blizzard to reach their suburban home, her ancient station wagon protesting every mile. She arrived with arms full of homemade gifts, a quilt for the new baby on the way, jars of her famous apple preserves, and a wooden toy chest she'd refinished for her grandson, little Tommy. But Lisa had decreed this year would be contribution-based. Everyone was to bring a dish or help with preparations. Margaret offered to make her signature stuffing, but Lisa waved it off. "We've got it covered, Margaret. Just relax." Now, as the family gathered around the table laden with gourmet spreads, turkey with cranberry glaze, mashed potatoes whipped to perfection, and pies from the upscale bakery, Margaret realized relax meant exclusion. The denial hit like a slap. David shifted uncomfortably in his seat, murmuring, "Mom, maybe you can have some later." But Lisa's eyes were steely. "Rules are rules, David. If we let one person slide, what's the point?" Tommy, only 5, looked up confused, his fork paused midair. Margaret's throat tightened, tears pricking her eyes, but she forced a smile. "It's all right, dear. I'll just have some tea." She retreated to the living room, sinking into the armchair by the fire, the laughter from the dining room echoing like mockery. Inside, a fire of her own kindled. Not rage, but a quiet resolve. She had contributed more to this family than Lisa could ever know, and it was time to remind them. As the evening wore on, Margaret replayed her life in her mind. After Tom's death, she had scraped together every penny to send David to college, skipping meals so he could have books. When David and Lisa bought this house, it was Margaret who co-signed the loan, risking her meager savings. She babysat Tommy for free while Lisa climbed the corporate ladder, teaching him songs and stories that filled the gaps left by busy parents. Contributions. Her life was a tapestry of them, woven invisibly. But Lisa, with her designer clothes and social media perfect holidays, saw only what glittered on the surface. That night, as Margaret lay on the guest room bed, staring at the ceiling, an idea formed. Revenge, not bitter, but illuminating, a way to shine light on the unseen. The next morning, Boxing Day, the house stirred late. Lisa bustled in the kitchen, reheating leftovers, while David scrolled his phone. Margaret rose early, slipping out to the local community center where she volunteered. She had a plan, one that required allies. Back home by noon, she found the family lounging. "I thought we could play a game," Margaret suggested innocently. "A family sharing circle. Everyone tells a story of contribution." Lisa rolled her eyes but agreed, perhaps to humor the old lady. Tommy went first, proudly recounting how he helped set the table. David shared about his promotion that funded the feast. Lisa boasted of organizing everything, from invites to the menu. When it was Margaret's turn, she smiled softly. "My contributions aren't always seen, but they're there." She pulled out her phone, displaying emails and receipts. First, the co-sign on the house loan. Without it, they couldn't have afforded the down payment. Lisa's face paled. Then, Photos of Margaret's volunteer work at the soup kitchen, where she donated half her pension to feed the homeless, including a special Christmas drive in their name. I didn't want credit, Margaret said, but since we're talking contributions. The room fell silent. David looked ashamed, whispering, Mom, I didn't know. But Margaret wasn't done. She revealed the biggest secret. For years, she'd been funding an anonymous scholarship in David's name at his alma mater, helping underprivileged kids like he once was. Lisa's perfect facade cracked, tears welled as she realized her words had wounded someone who'd given everything. I thought you just showed up, Lisa stammered. The challenge peaked then, Lisa's defensiveness flared. Well, if you'd said something earlier. But Margaret held firm. True contribution doesn't need announcements. It's in the doing. The resolution unfolded over the afternoon. David pulled Margaret aside, hugging her tightly. I'm sorry, Mom. I've been blind. Lisa, after a long walk alone, returned with red eyes. Margaret, I was wrong. Stressed from work, the baby, but that's no excuse. You've contributed more than anyone. She offered a plate of leftovers, but more importantly, an apology. They spent the evening talking, really talking, for the first time. Margaret shared stories of her struggles, Lisa opened up about her fears of inadequacy. Tommy listened wide-eyed, learning that family bonds are built on unseen threads. As Margaret drove home the next day, the snow had melted into a crisp winter sun. She felt lighter, not from vengeance, but from truth revealed. Revenge, she realized, wasn't about hurting back, it was about teaching growth. In the end, the family grew closer, with Lisa inviting Margaret to co-host the next holiday, and David starting a tradition of gratitude shares. Margaret's inspiring message lingered, in a world that values the visible, remember the quiet givers, the ones who build foundations without fanfare. True strength lies in forgiveness, and the greatest contributions are those of the heart, mending what's broken and illuminating the path for others. 3.5 Sexpert